through the streets of Soho in the rain. He was looking for the place called Lee Ho Fooks. Gonna get a big dish of beef chow mein. Ahoo, werewolves of London. Ahoo, ahoo, werewolves of London. Around your kitchen door.
All right, so you know what this means. We got Ricky. We got Ricky Dean Logan here. It's J.V. Johnson, and that song can only mean one thing, right, Ricky?
That's right. You know what that means? It's time for the Sctv TV show, the wind-up. We're getting ready for the big show in Boston, and we're going to do this every night until the show.
Well, every night,
I hope you guys are tuning in.
Every night, but
every night except Friday night.
Except weekends, because you and I have we have appointments to keep on weekends, right?
But yeah, we do.
That intro,
I'm in Paris anyway.
Yeah, that intro song is very, very important because one of our guests coming to Sctv New England. By the way, let me just back up just a second, okay? For those of you who are joining us for this live broadcast, this is something, as Ricky just said, we're going to do every night, Monday through Thursday, as we approach Sctv New England. We're going to feature a different one of our Sctv guests. Our celebrity guests. We're going to talk about the show. We're going to talk about the guests, their work, what they've done, what they're bringing to the show, what they like about doing these conventions, all that stuff as we kind of gear up for what will be the best show this summer. It's Sctv New England in Framingham, Massachusetts, June 16th and 17th. And if you need more information, if that isn't enough, go to sctv.com. Now, having said all that, you heard the intro song. And, of course, you recognized it. And it's kind of a teaser for our guest tonight. One of our featured Sctv celebrity guests is David Naughton. Of course, you know him from An American Werewolf in London. David, thank you so much for being on this. This is kind of last minute and a little bit impromptu, but thanks for being here with us.
My pleasure. Ahoo!
Werewolves of London.
Coming to Boston.
Yeah, man.
So, David, so this will be your first Sctv, but before we talk about the show, tell us a little bit about how you got into this crazy business that some people call acting, some people call it a passion, some people call it crazy. How'd you get started?
Wow. Yeah, let's see. You know, some people just say they were born for it. You know, it's in my blood. But no, actually, you know, I started in high school. That's what really turned me on to theater, getting on the stage and going, you know, this is kind of fun, doing high school musicals. And in college as well, I went to the University of Pennsylvania down in Philadelphia, and they had no drama major, but I certainly got into extracurricular theater groups and going, you know, I'm tempted to try to do this. And sure enough, I had some encouraging theater directors down there said, give it a shot. So I applied to drama schools. I got accepted to one in London. I went to London for 2 years and studied Shakespeare and classical theater. Wow. And I returned to New York 2 years later and became a pepper.
So, you know, there are a lot of people who follow a similar path, and they get to the point and they say, okay, I think I can do this. But as you know, David, you know as well, Ricky, you know, one out of, what's the number? 1 out of 1,000 actually make it happen. What's the difference, David? Is it passion?
Here's a number for you real quick. In Screen Actors Guild, 1% of the actors that are in Screen Actors Guild work. 1%.
Okay, so it's 1 out of 100. So David, what makes the difference? Is it just a little more passion, a little more drive, or just being in the right place at the right time?
I really think there's all kinds of things. You know, the stars have to be aligned, because you can certainly be the most talented actor on the block and not think you're, you know, not be in the right place at the right time. It really takes that sort of, you know, when opportunity knocks and being prepared for it. I think that's what happens. And so, you know, people, it sort of depends. Even in my own case, you know, we all have this sort of plan, like, yeah, I know just how my career is going to go. Well, you throw that plan right out the window, okay, right off the bat, because that's not really going to, I mean, it's a nice idea, but, you know, the thing is, you just sort of put it out there, or, you know, we can cliche this to death, grab the tiger by the tail and see where it takes you. And that's what I did, was going back to New York, realizing that that's where I was going to try to, if not make a name for myself, get some inroads into how to make a living at being an actor. And that's where I started.
So I have to ask. I've got to ask you this, though. Sorry, Ricky. Let me just.
No, it's okay.
You got your big break, David, on what I think was a short-lived TV show, Planet of the Apes. Now, the movie itself is unbelievable. It's one of my favorites of all time. The TV show didn't have quite the same success, but when you were on that program, were you one of the humans, or were you one of the ape characters?
No, well, the story is my brother is James Naughton. He's a big Broadway guy. He won a couple of Tony Awards for Chicago and other shows but back in the 70s, he was one of the astronauts. Pete Burke, Jim Naughton was one of the astronauts in the TV series with Roddy McDowall and Ron Harper. So I just happened to be out in California. This was during the time when I was studying acting in London. But I went out to California and visited my brother and visited the set, and they let me be a chimp for a couple of days. It was really kind of a hoot. Now, the 6 degrees of Rick Baker, who did the makeup, of course, for American Werewolf, is that the Planet of the Apes makeup was designed by Dick Smith, who taught Rick Baker.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of neat. So when I got to Rick Baker, I said, yeah, okay. I hear you're good, kid. No, I didn't really say that. Neither one of us were very well, knew what was going on. But I did try to impress him by saying, I did play a chimp in a Planet of the Apes series, and he was very impressed because apes are his passion. So it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And just to get back real quick, David, about what you were saying about actors, I think for any of you aspiring actors out there, I think that the main thing is perseverance, man, because it's the key is you get knocked down, you get told so many times. It's how many times can you get back up, and how many times can you go back into a room, and that's really what it's all about.
Absolutely. I always loved baseball growing up in Hartford area, which is where I'm from. It was either Yankees or Red Sox. That was the thing growing up in Hartford. You got to pick a team. But I always sort of imagine it's the same kind of thing. You can't hit a home run every time up. Well, you can't get the gig every time you go in on an audition. No. But as long as you keep getting up to the plate, you're going to get some hits. Something's going to happen. Yeah. So that's what I always hoped for, was that I would have an agent or somebody who believed in me enough to keep sending me out there, and I would go in prepared. That's the other thing, is you can't just wing it. You have to really be prepared, go in there, and if you come out and you're happy with your audition, that's the most you can be, is just be happy with your audition. Whether you get it or whether you don't, there's so many variables. You just go, well, I didn't choke, and I didn't, I think I did just pretty fine. I'm happy with it. So would you do it over? No, I like it. So if you can live with that, then you're on your way.
And at a point, like what you just said there, but you need to go in, you got to walk out just being happy with what you did. The rest is just providence. You can't control it. It's just kind of like you said.
True.
The stars have to align.
I found out later, with this Dr. Pepper thing, which was a big campaign. I landed in New York. After there was a 4-year gig. Well, after the first year, I was in the casting room because I've been in front of the dead. I was there. One of the guys was auditioning, of course, initially, but then I got into the meetings with the ad agency as they were picking people the next year to be, supportive dancers and so on, and to hear what the conversations were about and how anybody got cast was such an eye opener for me, because I went, wow. There's no rhyme or reason for this.
No, there's not. And it comes down to, I remember I went to an audition and I had a producer with a female, and I reminded her of her ex-boyfriend who she hated. And literally that's all
what
it
took
to not have me. And the other thing is, too, you go in, like you said, David, and you wait. You go in, you do your job, and you leave, because, the thing people don't realize is you don't get a call saying you didn't get something. You don't hear anything. You just hear nothing. You go in and you hear nothing. You don't get calls of them saying, hey, you did a good job, but you didn't get it. You hear nothing.
Yeah. You only hear when you screw up or something really goes wrong, you might hear, which I've certainly had over the years. Someone would call and say, well, what was going on? It was just a little off, or the old expression, they decided to go another way. What way is that?
Oh, I love that. That's my favorite.
So is the old "don't call us, we'll call you"? Is that an urban legend, or does that really happen too?
No, that happens.
Yeah, you can't get anybody on the phone. Certainly, if you're looking for a gig, there's nobody going to take your call.
So Missy in our comments section here says, "What about making it?" Now, of course, David, you spent some time on that TV series. What I don't know what the question really means, but I'll ask it. What about making it?
It so happened that. Yeah, that's what brought me out to the West Coast. I was in New York, being a pepper, hanging out, just doing, off-Broadway theater. In fact, I was a assistant stage manager and understudy for one of my first jobs on a Broadway show, which is an eye-opener. But so I got a chance to do a 13 on-the-air series, half-hour sitcom, based on Saturday Night Fever of a show called Making It. And they had Frankie Valli all set up to sing the title song, and I said, wait a second. I'd like to have a shot at it. Oh. So I did talk my way into the audition, basically, for that. I recorded the song, and the song went to number 5 in the top 40. Making it to the top.
That's right. You know what? You know what's really messed up about that, David? I swear to God, I've been in radio over 30 years. I know that song like the back of my hand because it was a pop classic. I never put the two together. I didn't even realize that. And I could have told you. I could have told you it was David Naughton. I just never put the 2 and 2 together. That's unbelievable.
I'm not just another hairy face,
So tell me what you like about conventions. I know you do them. You're all over the country all the time. What's magical about going to these events that we call, horror or pop culture conventions?
Well, it's you get one-on-one with fans, which can be, I think hysterically funny. It can be touching, it can be depressing, it can be everything. I mean, you run the gamut of emotions when people come up, some who are just genuine. You can't believe how sincere they are about what a movie might have, the impact it had on them, all that kind of stuff. So it's really kind of gratifying. And then you see young kids, who look and you think, wow, here's the next generation. What is their feeling on this? And I'm always astounded by when I say to a kid, hey, have you seen this movie? And they go, yeah. I go, how old are you? 7. I go, this is a rated R horror film. Did it scare you? No.
Yeah.
I go, what scares you?
Yeah.
Then I look at their parents. I go, well, we just put it on, and it's my little baby's favorite movie.
Oh.
You go, how is this movie your favorite movie? It's a horror film. So it's there's a lot of fun in these sort of one-on-ones with fans.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I think kids are far more sophisticated now than we were when we were that age. And I see, I run Scaricon, so I see them. They show up, they're 6, 7 years old or younger, and they're dressing like Freddy Krueger or Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees, and they love it. I remember watching the original 1931 Dracula with Bela Lugosi at 7 years old and being scared and not being able to sleep for months.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine. And there was nothing really scary about that other than the ambiance. So I can't imagine. I don't even understand it.
Yeah, I don't either. And, it's funny, too, because, the parents say, well, that's generally one of the things is, well, this movie really means a lot to me. This is what, my dad brought me to horror films, and we went out and we went to the movie theater, and this was the first movie that I ever saw. I've had that happen a few times, where they it's a point in their lives which was really meaningful with a family member, and my film happened to be playing when that happened. So it just makes you feel good.
Yeah, that kind of thing has got to be terrific. Now, you also, not only do you get to go to these events and meet fans, but you get on panel discussions, you talk about your experiences. What are some of the questions that seem to be kind of the repeat questions that people will ask you when you're on these panels?
Well, I would say as it pertains to American Werewolf in London, they all want to know how long the makeup took and talk a little bit about that whole transformation, which is, it's like 2 minutes on film, but people don't realize it took us 5 days to shoot it. And
wow.
And, Rick Baker was unknown at the time, but he was, this was his first Academy Award, and they created the category of special makeup for his efforts. And we tried to, pull it off and say, you put it on us and we'll make it work, was the idea. But none of us knew what an artist he was and how slow he worked. Really, it was many, many hours in the chair and or in the floor or wherever. So it was those are the kinds of questions, and they're often, fans are struck by, oh, wow, this is kind of a serious process, this practical makeup. And one guy that I think the funniest question I've ever been asked was this guy got up in a theater, kind of a Q&A, and there's a mic set up, and the guy comes down and he goes, my question is, were you the actor or the werewolf?
That's funny, David, because I was going to say the same thing. Tell people that, what happens when you're in the makeup like that. Yeah, you have a great special effects artist and given him who he is, what he did. But you as the actor who pulled it off in that makeup, I don't think a lot of people understand how hard that is to do as an actor. Just like Robert Englund doing Freddy Krueger. When you have that kind of makeup on, you had to make all those special effects work and make it look real on screen. You did that work, and that's what I dig about what you do.
No, well, I certainly appreciate that. I really thought that, the way I took this question was the guy thought I looked so unlike what I looked like up on screen. I must have been the stunt man, What was I doing at this panel? So I tried to, let him off the hook a little bit by going, yes, I'm the actor who played the werewolf, and next question, please. In the back.
I'm not going to let you off the hook of this question, okay? Because anybody in my generation, there are certain TV shows that we used to watch as kids that kind of, defined our generation. And one of those was Love Boat. Were you really on Love Boat?
The Love Boat. Oh, you bet.
Yes, he was.
Huge mistake.
I watched that show.
That was a huge mistake?
Well, it was a big mistake. First of all, I thought I was actually going to be on a boat, going, yeah, we're going on a cruise. And it's like, report to stage 2. It's, Hollywood Center Studios. And you go, what? You mean I'm not going over to Long Beach and jumping on a boat, going out to Catalina? No, you're not.
Yeah, there's no vacation,
the boat's not real, David.
No deep sea fishing.
It's not real? You mean, so they start off, and they, when you're a guest on those shows, and that was a big show.
Sure was,
they had 5 or 6 huge egos on that show.
I bet.
So when you're a guest, you're just like, okay, come on, go up top of the stairs. We're going to shoot the ending first. So you come down the big staircase, and we're going to play that little scene at the end when you're leaving the boat. Okay, let's take our positions. I'm literally like going, what? I don't think I've even been to makeup yet. What? We're going to shoot this? So no rehearsal. So it was, and I was in the haunted. The whole idea of the show was I was it was a haunted stateroom. So my bride and I, we were newlyweds. We bickered in the room, and it was because it was haunted or for whatever reason. I go, wow, that's a serious plot twist. So we come down the stairs. The actress and I were supposedly newly married. We've had this whole episode, and this is the last scene. I come down and I look at the captain and I go, sorry about your jaw, Gopher. And Fred Grandy, who's like 2 guys over, goes, I'm Gopher.
Yeah. What a great
I was
story.
just mortified.
Can I ask you a personal question? Did you have as much of a crush on Julie as I did at
Julie
that point?
was, she was pretty, well, to be honest, that whole show was, the babe boat, as they call it.
Yeah. I did Baywatch, same thing.
Even though it was a stage 2 at Hollywood Center Studios on Santa Monica Boulevard.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So you've done some what our horror fans would consider pretty cool stuff recently. You were on American Horror Story.
With Lady Gaga.
Yeah. I mean, that's a hit series.
That was the reason I took it. Going, wow, I'll just be a fanboy in this little show, this little part. And see if she can act, and she can. She can do whatever she wants, includes smoking on the set in California. I went, wow.
Yeah,
that's power.
That's power for sure. And I have to tell you, there's it's not necessarily as widely known as it should be, but you did a guest appearance on Holliston too with Adam Green and his crew.
Yes, I did, and they were really talented guys. And it's the same with the show Psych. I don't know if you ever watched Psych.
Sure, yep. Mm-hmm.
Psych, great show.
And there was a whole werewolf episode that they wrote and asked me to be on it. I went up to Canada to shoot it, and those guys I thought as well. There were these, but particularly Adam Green and Joe. We were just pretty much improvising their show, and they were just winging it. And that takes a lot of... especially with producers around, going, you're spending my money and you don't have a script? What are you guys doing?
Sometimes that's the best work, man.
I know, but
Well,
it's a little uneasy, I
totally.
guess, when you're a numbers cruncher, and you're going, they're going to get this today, right? Oh, yeah, they'll get it. We're just going to do another take. So as an actor coming in, you just have to give yourself over to going, I know I'm going to look stupid, but what the heck, this could be fun, so you just go with it. And fortunately, Adam has got that filmmaker's eye, and I thought he put together a pretty darn good show.
Yeah, he really does. And I actually came to that show late, but I've watched both seasons from start to finish, and I'm highly impressed at that work. And I really hope it finds a home for season 3. I mean, that's kind of what I'm hoping for. So, what do you have in the pipeline now? I mean, you always have stuff going on. So, what are you working on?
Well, when I go to these shows, I try to promote this kind of funny little comedy we made. Gosh, it's got to be almost 10 years ago now. It's called Brutal Massacre. Have you even heard of this movie?
No.
This is really kind of a, one, if I have I think I have a copy, JV, and I will bring you a special copy.
Should we show it at Scaricon? Should we screen it?
Oh, you certainly could, and because it takes place, it opens up at a horror convention.
Oh, perfect.
And it's the making of a really bad horror movie, and I play the director, and I win all these awards because people think it's so brilliant. So it's a spook, it's really...
It's awesome.
And it's funny stuff because the writer-director, Stephen Mena, put things in this film that happened to him on his very first film. Like they thought they had a location, and so they got permission to use this location when in fact they didn't have the permission. I mean, on and on, all the little kinds of things that happen to you when you're making an independent film. He put into this movie, Brutal Massacre. It's hilarious. It's Gunnar Hansen's, I think, if not final performance, one of his best performances ever. And there are a lot of, there are a number of people in it that are really, really good. But it just didn't get, the push that it needed. Yeah, and it kind of came and went. But
that's the tragedy of a lot of small, independent efforts, is they don't always get the recognition they deserve. But fortunately, there are conventions like Scaricon where people can actually come see some of this work and support it from the grassroots level.
Right. Well, that's fantastic. I'll certainly bring you a copy of this. It's really. I'm just proud of it because it's so quirky. You got to stay tuned. And the titles that we have of the previous horror movies that we've directed. I mean, it's a yuck, and it opens up at a horror convention.
That's cool.
And we have the real Mick Garris there on the panel, and me, my character, who was the fake director. And it's a lot of laughs.
So, David, you have not attended a Scaricon yet. This will be your first one. So with that, armed with that information, why should people come to Scaricon?
Well, just to see the look on my face.
Oh, no, you know why they should come to Scaricon? Because, David, you just said you were in musical theater. Is that correct? That's what you're telling me. So you sing.
Uh-huh.
Ooh.
Well, that's perfect because we have a VIP party that you people need to get tickets to, and JV's band usually plays. I'm not sure what he's got set up for this year, but we all sit in and do different songs. So you're definitely going to sit in and sing some songs at the VIP.
Awesome. We'll have to brush up on making it.
Brush up on making it. It's about 4 bars.
That is so.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, no, that is so awesome. So everybody who's just joining us, we're talking with David Naughton. We're talking about his work, plus we're talking about Scaricon New England that's coming up in June 16th and 17th, Framingham, Massachusetts. Check out the website for details. It's scaricon.com. Now, David, we don't want to muddy the waters here as Scaricon New England is approaching, but what else do you have going on this summer? I'm sure you're making other appearances coming up, too.
Yeah, I'll be up in Canada going to Calgary this next week. And, that's about it. Then I'm going, I have a family reunion. My brother and his family are in Connecticut. My sister's in Minneapolis. I'm here on the West Coast. My kids are in Northern California. So we all meet somewhere every summer. So that'll be nice. Now it's grown. I mean, we're getting older, JV.
Don't say
it. My son just had a
David,
baby.
easy.
I'm officially a grandfather as of April. I went, wait a second.
Yeah, I know,
wow.
right?
Congratulations.
He goes, what's that feel like? I go, never mind what it feels like to be a grandfather. What about being a father? I say to my son, it's like, that's got to be a little different.
Yeah, I my son just graduated from college last week, and he's my youngest. So, we keep turning these corners. I'm not so sure I want to turn the next one. But, everyone's exciting. So I guess we should be happy
and
about
there's
that.
not, what's the alternative?
Exactly. Good point.
Exactly.
Well, David,
Yeah.
it's been a pleasure having you on this. This is kind of, like I said, a bit of an impromptu discussion, but it was perfect. And
Well, you guys are terrific.
well, we're excited to hang out with you in Framingham, Massachusetts, in just a few short weeks. We're going to have a great weekend of it.
Oh, I look forward to it. Can't wait.
All right.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, okay, so David Naughton is one of our celebrity guests. Thank you, David, for joining us. Just a quick reminder, we've got Dee Snider coming to Scaricon New England. We've got Cassandra Peterson, who you probably know as Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
Woo!
We've got Danny Lloyd, who was Danny Torrance in the 1980 film The Shining. We've got Doug Bradley from the Hellraiser series. We've got, who else? Amy Steele from Friday the 13th Part 2. The list is very... Oh, Tom Savini. He's just a legend in horror. The list is very, very long. So, the easiest thing to do is go to Scaricon.com, check out the whole list right there. Right, Ricky?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Check out the list. And I keep saying it every night. I'm going to say it every night until the show. Get the VIP tickets. You can come to the VIP party, hang with us, hear David sing, hear me sing, hear JB sing. Sid, who got up last time? Sid Haig got up.
Sid Haig got up, yeah.
And so did Sean Whalen. He's one of our...
And Linnea Quigley did. Linnea Quigley. I'm trying to think. There were several other celebrities that got up and took their turns. Once one did, they all jumped right in. It was great.
That was pretty much well. You were given free booze too, JB.
Well, that
so
helps.
That
I mean, that opens all possibilities up right there. That's the magic elixir. I'm telling you right now. All right, guys. Hey, listen. Thanks for joining us on this Facebook broadcast. We really appreciate it. This is an effort for us to talk about what's coming up at Scaricon New England, including the celebrities and the panel discussions and the films we're going to be showing. Please share this with your friends. Let them know it's going on. If you're anywhere near Framingham, Massachusetts, that weekend, June 16th and 17th, you should make it a point to join us. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right.
It's not your typical con. You guys are going to have, it's just fun. It's a lot of fun, man. I can't wait. I can't wait to see you, David, and meet you in person.
Yeah, so you said it, Ricky. Okay, all right, so that's going to do it for us. Thanks again for joining us. Share this with everybody. Tell everybody about it, and we're going to we'll check you out. We're going to be back, Monday night, because tonight's Thursday. So Monday night we'll come back and do this again.
Oh, that's right. We have plans tomorrow.
It's a holiday weekend. Actually, maybe we'll let you know. Anyway, stay tuned to Facebook. You'll see it. Take care, everybody. It's great to see you all.